What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And this one I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with the economic calendar moving forward. Some big news about Tesla stock, what you should be watching for in terms of these levels. But before I break these levels information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. The offer ends very soon, in just about 2 days from now. Anyways, for Tesla, as you guys can see, it's holding up relatively well right now, trying to push up towards the $201 area. It's also range bound between 200 as support and 202 as resistance, and overall, it's not looking too bad. But seeing how Tesla's pushing right now, I just wanted to break down some more important things about it. As you guys know, we have some very, very big catalysts coming out at least over the next couple of days. Tesla has its deliveries report coming out, and that's going to cause some very, very crazy volatility. You guys can see how we're seeing a big amount of changes right now in Tesla's implied volatility, and also a lot of changes like that. You can also see how Tesla is once again starting to break out, and we're starting to see a big break relative to its moving averages. A lot of big changes right now, at least for the share price, as we're waiting for these big shifts. So with this pump, we were expecting Tesla to pump at least approaching its deliveries, and that's why Tesla's actually gaining a lot of strength. So because of the strength Tesla's gaining, it's actually holding up very well. I think that it may continue to do so going into next week as we have some very, very big data. The big day is going to be on July 2nd, most likely, from what I'm seeing in reports. For when Tesla is going to be announcing their deliveries numbers, it's going to have a very, very big effect on the share price. So I can't wait to see what we end up getting, and the numbers are going to be very important. Now, on top of this, the whole market's been rising. This has been helping Tesla too, because we ended up getting some decent PCE data reports. And as a result of that, the market is once again in a very, very positive note right now. We also had the Chicago PMI come in above expectations, which helped the market pump. Not to mention, the Michigan consumer sentiment data was quite decent, showing signs of inflation being lower than expected for the 5-year inflationary expectations report. And also, the overall reports for June is looking pretty cool. So that's a pretty good, amount of data so far. We have Bowman from the Fed giving a speech now, and we'll have to see how things develop here. I just want to note that SPY in the market pumped quite a bit. Now we're starting to slow down a bit. So here's some very important levels to watch for. On Tesla, I called out 202 as the level to watch for. We've been kind of stuck between 202 and 200 for almost the entire day. And if I bring up our 30 minutes time frame like this, you guys can see how Tesla's been breaking out. But it's been shuffling. It broke out in the beginning. Now it's starting to shuffle between 202. The 202 is about 200. It's been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I think that we're kind of in this range. If we lose 200, I'll be looking for basically 197. If we break past 204, we'll be looking for a bigger pump. Overall, we're just kind of stuck in the middle. So I think Tesla may continue to shuffle for some time. We have pumped quite a bit to get up to 200, which is the level we called out many weeks ago and even yesterday. But now we're just shuffling for now as the market is beginning to slow a bit. And it may continue to do so at least for the remainder of the day. So Tesla is still building strength. It's still holding up nicely because we have a big catalyst coming out, but it is shuffling in this range. That's what it's doing so far. So make sure you watch the levels I called out. For SPY, we pumped all the way up near the all-time high at 550, only to reject back down towards 547. And now we're just kind of trading sideways. I think 547 is a pivotal level. If we lose that, we'll be dipping back down to 545.8 or even below that. And if we continue to hold this, we could be trying to push even higher back up to 550. So watch this area right here. We have resistance at 547.7, not to mention 548.5, and then 550. And we have support currently at 547, not to mention 545.8. We are in the middle, going back and forth between these levels. We kind of pumped and dumped. So I'll be watching this 547 range just to see how we end up reacting. For Nvda pumped all the way up towards 130, only to reject back down towards 125. Trading sideways in the middle, not really doing much right now. I think we may just continue to shuffle. We are kind of shuffling on Nvidia and may continue to do so, but we are starting a little bit of an uptrend right here. So if it does bounce and hold above 125, there could be potential for a push next week, since we have a nice couple-like structure that's forming. But I have to give this some time just to see if we end up getting that break or not. For Bitcoin Bitcoin is once again kind of dipping a little bit, but we have this key level. So there are two potential setups. There could be a double top on Bitcoin that's forming. So if we end up losing 60,500, we'll be looking for a dip. But if we bounce off the support, we could try to rebound back up to 62,000. So it really depends on if this is a double top or if this is a range. And what I mean by that is we hit 60,500, went to 62,500, and went back and forth for a couple of days. So we're going to be watching to see, does Bitcoin bounce off 60,500 again, or do we lose the support and start dipping? I'll be watching that. We're at key supports. We'll give this some time. For the QQQ, we pumped all the way up towards 487, only to reject back down. Now we're kind of shuffling. A critical support is 482.5. If we lose that, we'll be dipping back down to 480. And if we hold this, we'll be pushing for 484. We're kind of stuck in the middle, going back and forth. So there's not really a whole lot going on right now. So we'll just have to give this some time. For Aapl, Aapl is also kind of shuffling as well. So we're seeing a lot of stocks just shuffling now. It is a Friday, guys. There's a lot of option expiration, so it's no surprise. Aapl pumped all the way up to 216, only to dump back down to 214. Now we're kind of shuffling here. If you lose 214, I'll be looking at 212.5. If we break out, watch 215, then 216 as resistance levels. And as of right now, we're kind of shuffling in the 214, so we may continue to do so, at least for an extended period of time. For Supermicro, as we're dipping right here, we have this imbalance to fill. 832 is likely going to be tested, so I am seeing some potential for a little bit of a dip. We could dip lower before we try to bounce. So I'll be watching this very carefully. We're just range bound. There's also a potential head and shoulders like structure, so this could lead to more downside. So I'm seeing some bearish signals on this. So it might be dipping all the way back down towards 830, then eventually 820. So I'm seeing some weakness on Supermicro. We'll be watching to see this continue to fall, especially if we lose 850. So I'm seeing the risk of some downside. For a few more, AMD pumped all the way up to 166, only to return back down. We could be retesting this previous resistance, becoming support 161. So just be careful, guys. For Coinbase, we pushed all the way up towards 227, only to reject back down. If we were to dip lower, I'll be watching this trend line as our key support. So it might dip a little bit lower towards 217 or so, then try to bounce. So we do have a potential uptrend right here. For Amazon, I just wanted to mention that Amazon, once again, is starting to dip a little bit. We called out 196 in my morning video for Amazon to dip towards this level. We could be retesting our previous resistance, becoming support at 195 as well. So 195 to 196 could be tested before it tries to rebound. But I do see a little bit more downside potential before it tries to bounce. Meta is just shuffling at 515. We'll have to see if it bounces here. Might go a little bit lower towards 514, which is where we could try to bounce. But I'm just seeing a lot of shuffling. Microsoft is holding up. It's also just trading sideways at 540, 453. Excuse me, guys. We're just kind of stuck for now. Not really doing much. Google's also shuffling right here around this 186 area. Not really doing much as well. So I'll have to give that some time. So that's all I'm really seeing. I do see a risk of Google dipping lower towards 184 again. But besides that, it's just kind of stuck. Uh, GameStop is once again has a nice inverse head and shoulders, but we haven't really broken out yet. There is potential for it to push out. If we could try to close above 26, that's going to be a good sign. And AMC is also just kind of stuck. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders, might try to push next week, so I'm seeing potential in the memes. With that being said, guys, as far as Tesla goes, it's showing some life, showing some strength. Watch this range between 200 and 202. We might shuffle here for the majority of the day. If we break 202, we could push even higher. I'll be watching 20, basically the high of the day right here around 203.25 to 203.8. So this is actually going to be like a range we have. Then we have 206 above that. But I'll be watching this level right here, so this entire range as our next resistance zone, and then we'll see if we can try to break that. Break this, then we can continue higher. Otherwise, for the most part, we're just range bound. I think that's what we're going to likely end up doing for Tesla. All right, so that's it for the video. Thank you for listening. It is a Friday, so make sure you keep what I said in mind about these ranges for the markets. And I will see you guys very soon on the next one. So have a great day, guys. Thank you for listening, and peace out.